What's up and welcome back. I'm John Stark from ahve.com, your favorite blind film critic, and it's spooky season. And Hulu dropped a new movie. It's called The Man in My Basement, and I'm going to review it, not in a basement. I also don't have one, so there is no man in my basement for me to review. That would be a nice thing if there were. Then I could ask the man in my basement how he felt about the man in my basement and be like this whole thing. But sadly, not the case. This is directed, well, it's based on a book by William Moseley. It's a first-time feature that was found at the Toronto International Film Festival. Not so much found, it was already going to premiere in Hulu. There were actually people who had been sent screeners of the film before it was at TIFF, because of its premiere on Hulu was so close to the film festival. I guess that they wanted to get those reviews out. Not me, although I do occasionally get an offer from Disney, but their platform is so bad. It's so poorly coded for blind people. This does have audio description though. It's done by Point360. It's narrated by Tansy Alexander. And it's definitely a solid audio description. I mean, this film is a lot. This film is a lot to unpack. Walter Moseley is, if I said William Moseley, which is now haunting me at the beginning of this, I don't know, but it's Walter Moseley. I know the difference. Walter Moseley is just a really strong actor. We've adapted a whole bunch of his works. This feels like one of those things that we would adapt in 2025 after he's been around for a while writing books, and we're like, what's left? Well, we've got the unadaptable stuff. Oh, well, we can adapt this. No, we thought that was unadaptable. You usually hear about those books that people previously thought were, there's no way that's going to be a movie. By God, it's going to be a movie. Man, there's a lot that goes on in this. Unpacking this film is almost requires a second viewing if you really want to sit down and talk about how this film chooses to represent generational trauma, race, how we reflect upon ourselves, the boxes, the metaphorical and literal boxes we put ourselves in, the relationships that we have with others, those that have left behind, and what do they leave us behind with. There are a lot of ideas going on in here that are playing with in a movie that's just shy of 2 hours. And I felt like, because this is very much like a metaphorical, subtextual movie that doesn't just spell it all out for you, I thought it was really difficult. I understood why it was sent to a film festival, because it's somewhat audacious in its nature of trying to pull all of these ideas together. Corey Hawkins and Willem Dafoe star, supposed to be originally Jonathan Majors, but Majors was let go from the project for reasons. Corey Hawkins stepped in and took over the role. And Dafoe, I mean, this is a perfect casting for him. There are very few actors who play this role perfectly, and Dafoe, it feels like obvious casting for. He plays this guy. It's not Anton, but it's something like that. Who asks to, just shows up on Corey Hawkins, who plays Charles. Shows up at Charles's doorstep one day with an offer, and Charles is like, no, I don't need a roommate. I'm not renting. I'm not selling. We find out that this was his mom's house. This house has been in his family for 8 generations, and he's at risk of losing it just because he simply doesn't have a job, and he owes some money. And if he doesn't get the money together quickly, then he may lose the house to the bank, which is made worse by when he learns that somebody has, some investor or something has decided to prompt and made a decent offer, something that prompts some proceedings that speed along that require him to need to come up with the money faster. So he's trying to figure out how to do that. And he has a lot of old antique type things, including these masks that are clearly ported from Africa. There's a character in here who works solely in antiquities, and who comes in and sort of appraises everything, and is pretty impressed with everything, but when she sees the masks, is like, you can't sell those. I mean, those are your heritage. Those are, I mean, that's history, and doesn't really appraise those, but kind of appraises everything else. And if she could get everything moved and sold, it would be enough, but it's just going to take some time he doesn't really have. Looks like he's going to have a man living in his basement. So enter once again Willem Dafoe to live in the basement, where things get weird. And not only do they get weird, but they also have increasingly almost like theological conversations on various topics. Dafoe is a man with a very specific past, and he's here for very specific reasons. I don't want to spoil anything, but this is a movie that requires your full attention. It's got a lot going for it in terms of story, but it also feels like I'm not 100% sure it stuck the landing. I'm not 100% sure that when you have this much going on, when you are weaving all of these things together, all of these thoughts and ideas and concepts from the book that probably play out better when you have hundreds of pages and you're trying to put that into a 2-hour film, and make it feel cinematic and have these beats and trying to give all the characters their time. Because there are a lot of like side characters, you know. Charles has a friend who comes in and out, but never really enough to establish him too much. He has this connection with the girl that does the antiquities, but we don't have a whole lot of time to spend with her. There's a neighbor that comes over and is trying to like keep his mom's like rose bush alive for him, as like a, you know, because I guess they were friends. And takes place in Sag Harbor. Mom's buried in the backyard. I mean, there are a lot of ideas and concepts here that they don't have time to really talk about or get into, or so everything kind of stays metaphorical and doesn't really wrap up into that nice bow at the end that you would want. It feels sort of like it's hastily wrapped, as far as a film present would go. Like, here's your gift. And you're like, did you just wrap this? Yes. So, the audio description does the best that it can. There are some weird beats. There are weird beats in the movie before there need to be. Like, there are weird beats in this movie where I'm just like, what is that and why is that here? I don't get it. Like, there are weird beats. There's a moment before the movie really sort of takes a dark turn at all, where he's sort of cleaning up the house and he looks in the basement and there's just like this rotting coyote. I'm like, what the is this? You know, like, I don't know that we've even really established that this is the kind of area where there are coyotes, or there would be one that would like get into the house and be in a basement. You know, it's weird. It's just suddenly there's this weird image. And I think, considering that there's so much happening later on in the film, I would have left out stuff like that and then just worked on leaving the the giant ball rolling down the hill, right? So if you're at the top of the hill, it's not quite as speedy until it has picked up the momentum. And so that's sort of like a top of the hill moment. And I think I would have waited to see what happens when it gets down, you know? Um, so there are a couple things that I think play its hand a little too early. Would I classify this as horror? Yeah. I mean, in so much that it has elements to it. It's more of like a psychological thriller than anything else. So it's nothing if not interesting. If you want to sit through interesting films this year and you feel like the films that you keep getting feel very derivative of other films, and you feel like, well, I've seen this film before, and I feel like I've done this film, and there's something about this film that even if you have seen something similar, that just the way that it handles itself feels like it's reinvented the wheel on which it's on. So um, there's that factor to it. I can't entirely say that I enjoyed the film, but I was definitely taken by the way that it approaches the the subject matter. Surprised. The film deals with a lot of concepts on race and ethnicity that, as a white film critic, I'm not going to be the be all and end all on this film anyway. So I just happen to be the blind film critic, and I can tell you that Tansy's audio description is solid. Point 360 did a good job. I kind of wish maybe perhaps that this was a film that we used a little bit more uh, authentic casting in terms of the audio description track. I feel like it warrants it. I feel like there are enough conversations, things that it dances around, and ideas and concepts, things that it wants to say but leaves unsaid, but nudges you in a direction toward, that make me feel like that this is a really specific thing. There's so much about culture and representational, and I found it my most amusing scene, and I don't know if I was supposed to get out of this, but I got out of it, but he takes the girl, she has an interesting name too, I can't remember what it was, like Damascus or Nebuchadnezzar or something, I don't know, neither one of those, but it was something intriguing as a name, the Antiquities girl, out to eat, and they're eating like Asian food with chopsticks. And there's something about that, the way that's not necessarily their culture, but that is, the absorbed. And there's a lot of talk there about, that's the conversation that they have where he goes, "Do you believe in evil?" And she's like, "Well, when I was in school, all evil was white." And she explains that, and he's like, "Well, so what does that mean for me?" And he's like, you know, she goes into it and breaks it down, so it doesn't necessarily mean that this is, but those are the kind of themes and ideas that I wish were explored more, and should be explored by people also on here who aren't necessarily me. So, but unfortunately, this came out the same weekend as like a Leonardo DiCaprio movie, so I guess everybody's watching that. So trying to figure out and find the right critics to see what their perspective is on this film is missing. But if you can, please do listen to a Black critic on this film, because I think there's so much that's about that specific perspective that is needed in this space. All I can tell you is Point 360 wrote an excellent audio description track, and Tansy did the best job with it that she usually does. But do I, as much as I love Tansy, I would have cast a Black performer here. I think the film requires it. So I think there's too much in the ideology that's woven in here otherwise. So there you go. That's what I got for you today on The Man in My Basement. It's a really hard film to talk about, and once you see it, you'll be like, oh my god, what it is. And I'm not 100% sure it sticks to landing. I haven't read the book. I think that would be an interesting thing. If you have read the book, also try to find a critic who maybe read the book to try to tell you whether or not, if you're trying to be like, I don't know, do I want to ruin my vision of the book? We'll find somebody who did both. A lot of perspectives here. Difficult movie, subject matter. But because of that, and because I was intrigued, and Willem Dafoe's very odd performance that rings true, even though I'm not really sure I want to see this movie again, and it's a tough watch, I am leaning slightly positive because I do like to be engaged. I do like to have films where I can have a conversation. I just don't have anybody to have a conversation with right now. There's no one watching this movie. So, yeah, it's just maybe one day this film will reach an audience and we'll be able to talk about it. But until that day, we're going to go slightly fresh here, and I'm going to give it a 6.1 out of 10. So, yeah, I think the performances are fine. The film has a lot of ideas. I'm not sure it finishes all of them. At the end, I certainly was left going, but what? What? You know, like, if, huh? On some of those things. So, maybe you will be too. Maybe this film just requires a second watch. Maybe this film is best consumed if you have read the book. I don't know. But that's just my perspective. I got what I got. You know, I came into this. I can't not be white. I am. I did not read the book. There are things that I can't change, the variables in this film, and I'm blind. So obviously my perspective is that I watch films with audio description. So it's a specific perspective. Anyway, check out the film. If it's nothing if not unique, despite the fact that it's an adaptation. It is inherently feels original. So there you go. It's certainly a big, bold directorial debut. Yeah. It's biting off way more than anyone could chew in their directorial debut. So, that's it. Thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing. And I will see you guys on the other side.